about all right. So how can you talk about the role of artificial intelligence in the legal system if you do not know what the intricacies are or what the legal implications might arise out of the use of artificial intelligence? I also want to make a mention before I go to the terminologies or the crimes or the issues that may be coming or arising out of the use of artificial intelligence. Prior to this, I would want to discuss about the cyberspace. We were in a position of dilemma. We were unable to regulate the cyberspace, and it wasn't much time that we suddenly moved into an era where we are using the artificial intelligence. Now, when I'm talking about the cyberspace, the word as such has not been defined anywhere, nor do we have any global convention which defines as to what is a cyberspace or what are the issues related to it. Though we heard about one, which is called the Budapest Convention, but India is not a party to it, and the very obvious reason being that we were not even consulted. Another one was coming into form by the Russia, but then there was COVID and now there's a war. So I don't know what is the progress level of it, but cyber crimes become very, very difficult to tackle because of the nature that they hold, because of the anonymity issues, because of the unreachable targets, because of the jurisdictional issues, and a lot of these things happen. We were talking about the bank frauds, and we were talking about the spam mails, we were talking about the hacking of the computer system, server, cyber terrorism, when suddenly an issue in regard to deep fake technology came into picture, when suddenly somebody was assaulted in a space called Metaverse. We were not even aware about the problems that were arising in the cyberspace when suddenly we turned over to another domain, which was called the dark web. So when the domains of any such subject, they transgress into the other disciplines or they create issues, it becomes very difficult to make a law on them, and it is very difficult to regulate them, have a policy on them, because people who are reading, dealing, or managing the artificial intelligence system or the cyberspace, all of them may not be having a combo of education or a qualification. Some people may be from the legal field, legal policy field, but they may not be good at understanding computers. They may not have a computer degree or otherwise. And it can be vice versa. There may be people from the engineering or the technical departments who may be creating these softwares, creating these tools and techniques, but they may not be aware of the legal implications. So here comes the role of the legal practitioners to understand the basic know-how about the technical aspect that is coming out in the world, and then dealing with it in a more contentious way to present the case so that they can at least make a point that how the crimes or the implications in the era of artificial intelligence or the cyber world are very much different from those that are happening in the physical space. And when we are talking about the cyberspace, we have heard about a lot of spamming, hacking, as I said, but there are a few examples which I would want to quote before I move on to the artificial intelligence. There are cases like cyber murder, though you have never heard about the term cyber murder, but there was a case that happened in United States where they got hold of a person who was connected with the terrorist organizations, and then in an ambush he got injured and he was put into a very good hospital, given Z++ security so that the terrorist organizations do not reach that person, and they can keep him safe, help him recover so that they can extract out more information from them. So there was no way that somebody could bomb the hospital. There was no way somebody could trespass the security and get into the hospital. So these terrorist organizations, with the help of their computer technical support, entered into the server of the hospital, and they could reach to the computer. Excuse me. All right. So they could reach to the computer of that patient and manipulate the medicines that were prescribed for him. So through that manipulation, they could change the name of a medicine to the one which was very poisonous or more lethal. Case of cyber murder was committed by using the cyber technology. Another very interesting crime that happens is called the salami attack. I don't know how many of you are aware of it. Salami is like a small piece of meat which is very thinly sliced. So let's say we all have accounts in one particular bank and we are working in an organization. Now the manager of that organization may deduct a little amount from everybody's account which is held by that bank, and a minimum of one rupee transaction that he makes of all the bank holder account holders would go unnoticed, because nobody would bother to get up and go to the bank to ask where did that 1 rupee transaction go, where did that money go. So these are the kinds of crimes which are happening but may not be recorded expressly, though may be placed under some category of the IT law or the or otherwise under some category of the penal law. But then these are not expressly dealt with, and these are happening at a very faster pace. Another short example would be that there was a murder that occurred in United States, that happened in United States, and what happened in that particular scenario, how the murder was committed, who committed the murder, every such information was retrieved in a matter of minutes from the smart Samsung TV, which had a voice recognition system. And to your surprise, that TV was plugged off. That means when you have devices like Alexa, Siri, and all these models, when you have smart voice recognition systems in your smart televisions or on your phones, even when you have put them on off, they have a feature of being able to collect a lot of information. So in this particular case, the investigating agencies got hold of the smart box or the voice recognition system of the television, and could retrieve every information about the conversation that took place in that particular space, about about everything that was done, if there was a scuffle, if there was a heated exchange of heated arguments, everything was recorded. And hence the investigating agencies could very smartly retrieve everything and resolve the case. Another very interesting thing that has come up recently for the legal practitioners is, I would like to quote that we are often using lot of smileys and lot of emojis on our daily conversations on the WhatsApp, emails, and everything. So if you remember reading about a latest news in Canada, where there was a person who was asked to fulfill the terms of the contract. Now, as the legal people, you know there are certain conditions and elements that you need to fulfill to make it a valid contract. So in that particular scenario, two people are having a conversation about some sale. One person says that I want to buy the flax from you. The other person says I agree to sell it away at a particular price. Then the first one says, all right, you send me the the terms of the agreement, and the other person puts a thumbs up emoji on it. Now in a common parlance, in a common conversation, a thumbs up means okay, I will send it. But when it went to the courts, it was interpreted that putting a thumbs up means you agree and you accept to the terms of the contract. So before even reading the contract, putting a thumb on it was interpreted by the courts that this is a kind of a valid contract and you cannot breach it and you need to enforce it. So these are the technical problems that arise in the era where there's a lot of usage of technology. A very similar example I will quote in regard to the use of the emojis, where there's a scuffle between a girlfriend and a boyfriend, and then in the fight the boyfriend sends her a lot of pictures, sends her a lot of emojis of the gun, sends her a lot of emojis of of the bombs or and all these things. And then the girl said that this particular man is trying to intimidate me or trying to blackmail me by sending me these emojis. You will not believe that though we do it in a very casual way, otherwise we use a lot of emojis in our general conversation, or when we are angry we put on that angry emojis, right? But in this case the court said that sending somebody the emojis of a gun is criminal intimidation, and the boy was sent behind the bars. This is what happens when you're using the technology mindlessly. And this is where the legal practitioners will be stuck in future, where they do not know how did the problem even occur and how somebody is even looking at it as a problem. Now, moving on to the artificial intelligence. So if we very briefly look at the concept, artificial intelligence is kind of an intelligence which we had to generate artificially because our common sense is now going down the drain and we no longer want to depend on our natural intelligence. So artificial intelligence is basically picking up certain kinds of computational and cognitive abilities. When I say cognitive abilities, I mean to say they act in a very human-like manner. They have their own thoughts, they have their own reasonings, they have a sense of self-improvement. That's what we call a generative AI to be reinforced learning to be in regard to an artificial intelligence. So AI was initially broadly classified into either the general artificial intelligence or the super intelligence. So when you're talking about the general artificial intelligence, it just meant that you're providing them with a kind of a data set which they will analyze, which they will evaluate and provide with a kind of a expected outcome. But when they moved towards more deep learning processes, cognitive abilities that they could build up, right, in those kind of situations they came a position where they could use their own brain to give a reason for the actions that they have been doing. They did not require any further learning. So you can say that the artificial intelligence grew over different phases. It started with a basic machine learning where you're feeding in an information, getting an output which you probably know would be an outcome, irrespective of the numbers or the computations and combinations that it may engage in, right? In the other case, there was a neural, or rather I would say a deep learning. So when you're talking about the deep learning, it is called deep because it is a kind of a setup where there are n number of layers where the information actually seeps in, and it engages with the functioning of the neural networks. So in a very simple language, if I say, neural networks are designed on a semiconductor chip in a similar fashion as you have nerves in your brain. So they perform a similar function. So if you go back to your biology classes, you will notice that when you look at the nerve pattern, an electric current passes from the synapses and jumps onto the synapses of the another nerve. And this flow of electric current keeps you alive, keeps your brain working, keeps you thinking, memorizing, and everything. So in all these situations, the deep learning becomes a very, very essential element or an evolution of the basic artificial intelligence. And when you talk about the deep fake technology, they also have a base or a foundation in the deep learning where they can generate an image and create a chaos out of it, which you may have recently noticed. We'll very briefly discuss this in the later part. Other than this, there is a reinforced learning. So when you're talking about the reinforced learning, what happens is that let's say there was a demonstration that was done in United Kingdom where they had, I hope I am audible because it shows the network is unstable. Can anyone confirm, please?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Can anyone?
Yes,
All
ma'am,
right.
you're audible.
Okay, thank you. So when we're talking about the reinforced learning, I was talking about an example. So there are two robots who are placed in a ground in United Kingdom for an experiment. These two robots, they are not told as to the games or the rules or about how to play soccer. But then they have been programmed to do a particular action, that is to make a goal, and the other robot is trained to be in a defensive position and not let the goal take place. So in this particular scenario, the two robots, they have no idea as to how to play soccer, but because they've been programmed, so one robot is trying to find its space to get the goal done, and the other robot, because it's designed to take a defense, is trying to stop the first robot from taking the goal. In this way, they understand or they make their own pattern. They do a self learning. When they do the goal, they affirm their own things, that right, this time I've made the right pattern, this way I can do the goal. And when they fail, they learn themselves and make an alternate plan to get the goal done. This is called the reinforced learning, or rather this is the learning which is making the robots more human like, because now they have understood what they are doing is correct and what they are not doing is is incorrect or is correct depending on the situation. So if you have seen certain reels going on Facebook or Instagram where they're talking about the robots, you will see that on questioning the robots or on having a conversation with the robots are processing their information, they are giving out answers based on what they think is appropriate. And when I'm talking about reinforced learning, this is important for the practitioners and the students of law, because we too much depend on chat GPT nowadays, because I'm a faculty myself. So we always come across certain problems in regard to the to what you say, to the chat GPT issue, because students make their projects, get their answers ready, use it for different purposes, for their, even for their moot preparations. So I want to contest here that how do you know that the information that you have got from the chat GPT is worthy of being relied upon? How true it is, how authentic it is. So if you put your name on chat GPT, you may get a different information which is absolutely not true about you. If you put in another request again and ask the chat GPT again the same question, you may partially find it correct and partial information may go wrong. But as you continue to ask the open AI or the chat GPT again and again about some information, about your information, at the end you'll see that the computer, that the AI is self improving. He's self improving and trying to give you the best answer, because now the AI has understood that the information that the AI is was providing was not appropriate, and he needs to do look into the feedback loop and improve itself. So this is the power of the artificial intelligence, and this is where the generative AI is leading to. Moreover, why are we falling trap to the cyber crimes or to the AI-led crimes is because there are experts in the United States who have said that it is not the computer systems that you hack. You basically hack the mind of the people who are using the computer system. You can put on 100,000 locks on your house, but what is the use of those locks if I can manipulate you to hand over the key to me? How easily can I break through that house? Another problem is that we have always been dealing with the cyber crime or the AI related crimes very differently from the ones that take place in the physical space. So let's say if some theft or robbery occurs at my place, I can immediately call the police, the neighbors will gather and they'll try to find out and get very alert as to why did this happen. Nobody would ever question you. Nobody would ever ask you, why did you not put the extra locks in there? Why did you not place the glass pieces or wired your the walls of your house? Why did you not leave behind a ferocious dog in the garden? Nobody would question you like that. But look at the case when it comes to cyber crimes or a AI related data theft or something. They would say, why did you not update your system? Why did you not buy any kind of a firewall or an antivirus? Why did you not do that? So why are we treating the same crimes in a different manner? Why are we not talking about it like it is a crime that is taking place? Then, other than this, the major issue comes that when we are talking about people hacking into your minds and not the computer system, this is because when you're too much into the use of technology, technology numbs you to an extent where you stop thinking critically about everything that is happening on screen. Whatever I am engaging you with, you are going to listen to it, adapt to it, click on the I accept button immediately without even realizing what is written on that. To continue in this proposition, we talk about the legal practice. We are talking about the interface of law and technology. Ask yourself, how much time do you actually take to scroll down and tap on that I agree button? how many times do you actually make an effort to read the licensing agreements to get into a website? How many times do you think before doing that? So there's a survey which says that it takes a minimum of 4 seconds and a maximum of 16 seconds to just scroll down and press on that I agree term. And you will be surprised to know that the number of letters in that licensing agreement are more than what is available on the in the Othello, which is a writing or a play written by Shakespeare. So the number of words are more. So how do you even read it, talk about the privacy, or even contest or contend anything which you are not willing to do? Another similar example is when you say, I accept all the cookies. Why do you accept all the cookies? Because there is no option. It is either I accept the cookies or it says manage your cookies. And the moment you click on manage the cookies, there's a long list of tabs that open, which you have to either switch on or switch off, right? So why would you waste so much of time? Because technology makes you more anxious, right? So you immediately want to get the result. So without thinking, you even give an access to the cookies. And do you realize when you do that, you are sending out your personal information, your name, your phone number, your address. And that is the reason when you visit a website, which is the one that you recently visited, or another one, you get an option of autofill. So why giving out an information? And most of the times you may have also seen that when you're putting up an information in regard to your bank account, credit card details or your debit card details, it gives you an option that do you want to save it with us? And you generally say no. But next time when you visit after a period of time, you will realize that it is already saved. So it really doesn't matter. So this is the giving out of the information. Now, talking about these kinds of problems in the legal field, how do you tackle with it? When it's difficult to tackle a small cyber crime, how do you tackle these problems? Another major issue that I want to talk about is the dark web. When we talk about the dark web, there are not only people who are anonymous and who cannot be recognized or who are operating transnationally, but because of the emergence of the artificial intelligence, there are even bots, the negative bots or the bad bots, which are operating certain websites. Now you will be surprised to know that when you visit a dark web, there's no single link to the dark web. You don't click onto something and go directly to the dark web. Dark webs become visible when you keep searching about a particular thing. So let's say we all are searching for a narcotic drug. Let's say we are searching for cocaine. So we keep searching, like, where can we get it? How can we procure it? And suddenly you start visiting certain websites which give out an information, but those are only the primary pages. Over there, you can see that there's a WhatsApp kind of icon which has an interactive chat provision. You go and you chat, they give you another link, you click on it, and you does enter the dark web or such zones which provide with those kinds of material. So now looking at the dark web, you see everything happening: money laundering, arms trafficking, human trafficking, every kind of crime is happening in the cyberspace, in that dark web, right? And the currency can be a normal currency, or it can be through the bitcoins or any other form of virtual currency. Bitcoins is just one of it. Or there can be n number of financial things which are available over the cyberspace. In this scenario, you will see that there is a list of cold drinks available with the name of Coke written, and the price for the same is, let's say, 15,000 rupees per some gram. Here you realize that this is not the Coca-Cola bottle that you are buying. This is the cocaine that you are buying. And it is difficult to investigate because nobody knows who's selling it, who owns that particular web page. Nobody knows. It is so much beneath the layers of a normal cyber world. And other than this, it is very interesting to note that the people are finding it difficult to investigate that how are the malwares or the spyware or the softwares which are very malicious in nature being sold over these places. So I'll tell you, if there is if you want to buy a malware, and so you want to hack into the system of, let's say, the Indian judicial websites and everything, you go to the dark web and you look for a malware or for a virus that can hack into the system. So when you visit the dark web, you'll be surprised to see that the pages absolutely look like the ones which we see when we log into the Amazon, Flipkart, eBay, and all these places. For these things, they are openly sold with the price tag. They even have a 5-star review portion where you can give them the review. They also have a comment section where the customers are commenting as to whether the product is good or bad. And then there's an interactive chat, again a window which helps you know how well can you launch a virus attack on somebody or on some website. And over here they even have a package system. You will see a platinum package, a diamond package, a gold package, a silver package, a bronze package, depending upon the intensity. To add on to this luxury, they would even say that if you fail, if you by any chance you are unable to launch an attack, or if you cannot do it very well, then there's a money back guarantee. And then to keep the information confidential, they even make you sign a legal document. I do not understand how an illegal system can have a legal document in place so that they can get it enforced against you, but because of the lack of awareness, people do believe that this is the right thing that is happening to them, right? So everybody believes that the people who are hacking into the computers or manipulating the cyberspace using the artificial intelligence techniques, they are the people who wear a hoodie, sit in a dark room with a big screen with green binary digits, making some tones and sounds while you type or click on it. That's not how a hacking system looks like. There may be hackers looking like you and me. There may be hackers who work in an organization which looks like an organized sector. They have their own CEOs, runners, and everything. And this is not something that I'm generally speaking. If you listen to the conversations of the cyber experts in the across the jurisdiction, you will know that these people, they work in offices which look like call centers. They work from Monday to Friday, and and on weekends they take a day off, and then on Monday they resume their work and analyze how much they could earn. Now this is reported and this is recorded from the fact that all the ultimate malicious attacks, they are committed by Friday evening, and then there is no movement recorded on Saturdays and Sundays, and people resume their work on Mondays, because again Monday onwards you can see that they have started launching the attack. So it is not always a single person doing the wrongful activity, but it is certainly a group of people who are engaging in an organized sector to commit a crime. Now, because we were talking about the artificial intelligence, the most horrible damage that it is doing to anyone is that it is collecting your information, your data at a very high speed. Now, why is it important for the students and the legal practitioners to know about this concept is that data accumulation and management cannot solely be controlled by a particular national legislation that somehow like we also have that, because right now what we have is a personal information. There are non-personal or other informations which may be available, but you need a different setup for it. So data accumulation, storage, processing, management, it all needs to be regulated. Before I move on to these problems that the legal practitioners should absolutely know, I would like to quote some statistics. So number one, I'll talk about what happens every minute nowadays. So if this is the minute that is going on, let me give you the statistics. So nearly 72 hours of video is uploaded on YouTube, right? 3 million people are sharing their content by way of Facebook. 230,000 people have just posted a new photo on Instagram. This is the statistics of what happened just now in this 1 minute. And to know about the authenticity, you can read the book named The Content Trap, which is written by Bharat Anand. He was in the Harvard Business School, so you can make a reference to his book and know about these statistics. More than that, more than 90 million websites, they are built every year. And then there's a very interesting statistics that I want you to know. So there is this 5 exabytes. Now, what is this 5 exabytes? If you break it down and make it simple to understand, it means 5 billion bytes. 5 billion bytes. So these are the bytes which were recorded to have been stored by the servers across the globe right from the time of birth of the world till the year 2003. So if we have to make an analysis as to how much data was there revolving in the cyberspace, this was the amount. How much? 5 exabytes. That's 5 billion bytes. Now, in the year 2011, they again thought of making a calculation to understand. So they realized that every 2 days, in the year 2011, every 2 days, we were generating 5 exabytes. That means every 2 days, we were creating an amount of data which till 2003 was to be calculated from the time of the birth of the world till the year 2003. So to 2011 makes it more horrible, and by the time you are in 2024, I think it's a matter of minutes that we are generating that kind of data, and this data needs to be regulated, and this is being put up anywhere or being seen by many people for two reasons: because people want to get noticed. Definitely, getting noticed makes you popular for good or the bad reason, and also gets you a lot of opportunities. Moreover, you get to make the other people jealous of what you are doing, where you are going, and all those things. So it makes you feel more of a human because of that tendency. Another one is that the problem of getting paid. Nowadays, we are putting more of our creativity, skills, writings, attitudes, beliefs, expressions online because we want to get some payment. So that is the reason it's sometimes in cash, sometimes in kind. You see a lot of people literally showcasing their personal life and getting the silver button, golden button, platinum button from the YouTube. I'm very sure you must be knowing about it. Now, how it is important. Every legal practitioner should understand that they can solve their cases right from the retrieval systems which are available in the mobile phones, or which are available in the smart televisions, or which is otherwise available on the cyberspace. I give you an example. If you have to apply for the United States visa, if you look at the form, they will ask you, are you available on social media? Do you have a social media presence? By what names are you accessible on different platforms? And you tell them in the visa form that I'm available on Twitter, I'm available on LinkedIn, I'm available on Instagram. And don't you think that these people are going to look at your profiles and make an analysis of your behavioral pattern? And this happened in the case of Cambridge Analytica, where it was used to manipulate the democratic process or the process of voting. And it is and how did they do that? You'll be shocked to know that they used Facebook as a platform. So there are a lot of games that people play generally over the Facebook to which makes them say that what were you in the last birth? Were you a unicorn, or were you a buffalo? Were you a cow? Were you a donkey? Whatever. And people give out the information. Very easy just to get that humorous result. And then if they say that, if somebody says, or the Facebook reverts back saying that you were an angel, they would like to even post that on the Facebook. So when you're posting lot of content, when you're writing lot of content online, that means you're giving out your beliefs, you're giving out your opinions, your inclinations, your political inclinations, your religious inclination. And here it becomes very, very easy for anyone to understand whom you can vote and what are the agendas that are likely to attract your attention. So this is how the data can create a lot of problem. This was more of a, I would say, a political angle. Now look at it from a police personal perspective or otherwise. There was a story that was covered by the New York Times. It became the best-selling story. There was a software, or rather an AI algorithm by the name of Clearview AI. Clearview AI required just a snapshot of your face, and it could fetch any picture of yours, or a picture that looks like you from anywhere on the internet. And then if they can get the picture, definitely they can also get any information pertaining to that picture. So do you realize if any of your information or Facebook picture which you think you have deleted could be retrieved back by a simple snapshot of yours, how dangerous it can be for your protection, how dangerous it can be for people who are into the legal system. Because it was said that nearly 200 police organizations, they were using illegally the Clearview AI before the racket was busted. It wasn't illegal because nobody knew about it, so they could use it, and they did not have any legal authorization. So this became very, very difficult, and the proposition gets even more difficult if somebody fetches this information, and it also provides information about your medical record or about your history, about your phone number, pin code. Anybody can start blackmailing you over anything, and that becomes a trouble for you and for the people who are in the enforcement. Other than this, there's a very new concept which is called the precision health. So when we talk about precision there's a concept called digital phenotyping, or creating a digital twin. So this digital phenotype is basically analyzing an individual's behavior, and how is he getting that information? Because that information is being accessed by the data which is available in regard to you. Moreover, they get into digital mapping. They get into digital mapping to do a virtual scanning of your organs. They get into the voice recognition system, from where they understand whether you have any neural problem because of the Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. And then they tell you like what kind of diagnosis has been done and what kind of precautions or what kind of medication you need. Now, in this particular scenario, if I bring it down to a very simple term, what is precision health doing? Precision health is basically using an artificial intelligence algorithm, which is using your information, which is not only pertaining to your genomic data, which is not only pertaining to your the information that you have submitted, or to your medical history. This pertains to every information that is available out of you, which may be collected by your smartwatches, which may be collected from your Facebook pages, Instagram pages, where you're putting on the desserts and everything that you're eating. Every such thing is recorded by the artificial intelligence. And when you talk about precision health, that collects all your data to understand your behavioral pattern, your social engagements, your social behavior, your age, your routine, your dietary plans, everything. And then they propose what can be the problem. The problem is that when you are talking about these things, do you ever consent to a particular information being given out or collected in this manner? Maybe people or these modernization facilities are asking you to give consent for certain information, but how much? How much can they collect? From where can they collect? How much do you allow them to have an access to your accounts? How do you how do you manage that? That creates a lot of legal implications because it infringes upon your privacy rights. And you will be surprised to know that there were a lot of cyber attacks that were launched on these hospitals who had even not gone down that lane of using an AI, those who had the medical records. And then these people, they never talk about it, or the hospitals, they lend out this information after a few months have passed so that there is no panic. Moreover, they do not want to do the information sharing because now they fear control, regulation, competition in the market. So even after suffering the cyber attacks or suffering the launch of such bots, which can be detrimental to the record or the data of the patients, they do not disclose the information about it, hence violating the very right to life, or the right to life with dignity of an individual. Then, moreover, after this, there's a concept which I would want to talk about that's called the digital afterlife. In digital afterlife, they collect your data and they place it in the form of a digital avatar. Now, I'll explain how it works and why it is important to understand that data is something that needs to be utmostly regulated to control most of the legal implications. Now, if you have lost a loved one, there are private organizations which are starting up right now. For example, the one started in somewhere in United States, where they say that we are falling short of making coffins. It is very damaging to the environment, so we propose that the bodies be electrified, or all those things, right? And the ashes be planted, used for plantation of plants, right? So for planting trees, or whatever shrubs, or whatever the person liked, as per the choice of that person. And now these so now these uh
छोटा है चार बजे थोड़ी सी
I think somebody's microphone is on. All right. So in this particular scenario, what happens is that these private organizations will get you fill a form. And what do you write on those forms? You say that I lost my so and so in this year. I would want to have a digital avatar of this person, or my dog, or whatsoever. And this is the information that I'm giving to you. You may kindly feed it in that digital avatar so that I can have a conversation. Now, half of the information you have given yourself, or you may have consented to give yourself. Rest, they will collect themselves from the Facebook or from the other places wherever this information is available. And then when the park is complete, you have an access by way of biometric. You go to a particular tree, and then you see the avatar of your loved one, and you can have a conversation with the dead avatar, with the person who was dead, the avatar of that person. And that avatar would respond back in a proper manner, because the company has very systematically used the artificial intelligence to give a more live effect, to give a more authentic effect in that particular scenario. So tell me, how do you deal with this kind of a legal problem that may arise in the future? Another interesting concept that I want to talk about is the concept where you're making predictions in the policing department. Prediction in regard to policing can happen when you're trying to allocate proper resources at proper places, so that effectively the policing could be done. And in the other cases, there can be profiling of the criminals. So to quote, because I see the time, I'm running short of time, so very quickly I want to move around this topic. In United States, there is a program which is called the Blue Crush, and it provides for the precise location and timing for the commission of the crime. And then the police department accordingly sends a group of people to that location, which is called the hotspot, where the police personnel can be deployed, and they can easily, prevent the commission of the crime. Similar, another example is in the city of Chicago, where they're using algorithms to give score to the individuals on the scale of 10. They almost have identified by now 1,400 people who have a tendency of being delinquent, being into a criminal deviant behavior, right? And they also analyze a lot of parameters about them and give a conclusion as to who can or who is likely to commit a crime. These people are not directly tackled by the police department, but then these people, they have certain civil society people attached to them so that their behavior could be watched. How intrusive will that be? And this led even to a lot of revolt, because it was very much against the right to life. Then came the crime anticipation system, which is used by the Amsterdam police department, where they, over a period of 2 weeks, they would keep a surveillance on you, try to identify your different patterns, and then make an analysis that whether somebody is likely to commit a crime or not. And this engages into a lot of socio-economic values or variables that they consider. The most famous example, or the one that you can relate to, is the one used by the Delhi government. It uses a system called CMAPS, which is crime mapping analysis and mapping system. In this case, this is a kind of a predictive policing setup, where the Delhi government is recording as to how many distress calls have come on the dial number 100, and then it reallocates, or it sends off its police personnel to that particular place, so that the crisis can be managed and the crime can be prevented. So they make an analysis through the use of the CCTV cameras, or they use the information through the helpline numbers. Like there is 911 in the outside world, we have 100. You look at the medical emergency numbers. So through this kind of data, they accumulate the information and they work towards preventing the crime. Though we are talking about artificial intelligence, it just gives you the predictive analytics and does nothing more. Then if you look at the legal system, there are a lot of softwares which are used in the Supreme Court otherwise, which helps only in interpretation, translation, making files available in different languages, and many of the softwares are used for retrieval of the legal information by way of we use as Westlaw, LexisNexis, and all that. And this is the kind of this is the kind of attention that we are giving on AI when it comes to the judicial system. But in the world outside, for example, in China, they have robots as the public prosecutors. So, how do you deal with the robot? There are robots playing chess, defeating the world champions. So, how do you think a robot, a public prosecutor, is fighting a case and you can have a defense in regard to your matter? How would you beat that abnormal situation in the court? Another thing that creates a lot of issue is when the crimes that happen in a cyberspace or in a meta space are very much similar to the physical space. But how do you contest these arguments? I'll talk about an example in the metaverse, which you must have heard. So, firstly, in a very simple language, I would say that metaverse is a zone which is more like a virtual reality or an extended reality. They have an immersive technology. In this case, you wear a headgear, you have some specs like goggles, like gadget that you wear over your head, your eyes are covered. And just like we see the ones that we use for having a roller coaster ride or something, it's almost the same. But because this is an immersive technology, when you enter into a metaverse, I don't know how many of you have experienced it, but if you get an opportunity, do experience it. The very subtle forms available in the form of smart gadgets presented by Samsung are not the exact metaverse gadgets. The one that you find are very expensive. So in this particular case, when you log into a metaverse, you can actually get disconnected from the physical space because it is so immersive in nature that you will start feeling psychologically that you are in some other world. By getting into the metaverse, you can have meta travel packages, meta fashion shows you can participate in, have a meta shopping round, you can select your dresses and get it delivered to your doorstep. All these things happen as they happen in the physical space. So in one of the case, a lady, she was assaulted while she was there within 60 seconds or within like 1 minute or so of her presence in the meta world. And she wrote a complaint and she filed a complaint with the police, and it was taken up by the court. She said that she felt that she was physically assaulted. The assault that took place on the metaverse had exactly the same psychological impact as it may have on anyone suffering the same in the physical world. So, how do you deal with these situations? Do you consider the bodily harm to be equivalent to a psychological harm? This becomes a lot of issue when it comes to the legal space. Another very interesting example is of the technological enhancements. The more we contest that the robots are becoming human-like, there is no less a contention that the humans are also moving towards becoming more robotic like. So when we look at the Star Wars characters where they have their own gadgets tied up to their body or being implanted in the body, we couldn't think of it more as a fiction in today's times, because you get to know that there are certain neuroprosthetic devices that can be attached to your body. So there was a small video where a lady is cutting meat with using a neuroprosthetic arm. She's thinking and her hand is or arm is like doing the same action as she's thinking, like what happened with the Stephen Hawking, where he could have a complete speech given with the movement of a muscle, almost like the same. So in this case, she's chopping off the meat, but suddenly the neuroprosthetic arm, she gets out of control and starts very brutally chopping off the meat. So if this particular arm stabs somebody, causes an injury to somebody, how would you answer this question? How would you even relate to this proposition in today's time that a neuroprosthetic arm or a metallic arm could do harm to somebody, and the person in this situation will not be held liable because the person had no such intention? How do you differentiate and how do you prove this legal contention? So there are such kind of neuroprosthetic devices which are in place. For example, there's a person named Michael McAlpine. He's built up a bionic ear, and that bionic ear can hear the acoustic or the ultrasound voices. So how do you deal with this situation? That becomes very, very disputable. Moreover, AI is replacing the labor force, so there can be lot of labor related issues. And because it is more into developing aggressive kind of weaponry, so this also has become a major debate in the world outside. So talking about the killer robots, autonomous weapons firing themselves or misfiring because they could not identify somebody as a human being, this becomes a major issue or a debate in today's time. Then the self-driving cars using the AI system hitting people on the road because they do not identify the people of color, this becomes a major, major issue. Now, when we say that that the artificial intelligence is making the legal scenario more complicated, there's a positive side to the artificial intelligence as well. So there are certain open source text analysis tools that help you sort out your legal information and fight the cases in the court in a very easy manner. Because we said that, that the AI has moved from its computational abilities to the cognitive abilities. I would want to say that it helps you retrieve a lot of information. But when these kinds of Watson and these kind of open source tools, when they are making an analysis, they can understand the text and the context, but it may be deprived of the legal reasoning. But then there are certain tools which have come into action, and these are called the ROS and the tools like Lex Machina. These are the softwares wherein they analyze every text that is available over the internet. It analyzes every provision, every rule, regulation, policy. It formulates the contentious issues itself. It refers to the precedents. It refers to the cases from the other jurisdictions to prepare a contention from both the prosecution and the defense side. It very clearly lays down which judgment they're quoting is whether upheld or it has been overruled. It is all stated by these particular apps in question. And when you look at this particular tool like the Lex Machina, this is a particular tool which you can use to even understand or analyze the behavioral pattern of a particular judge. So let's say if a case has come to me and we're using the Lex Machina tool to see what outcome I may give. In this particular scenario, it would evaluate every previous judgment of mine and then say that this judge is likely to give judgment in favor of the defense or in favor of the prosecution, depending on all the precedents that they look at. So this is one important role which the AI would do to the legal practitioners. Moreover, the use of LexisNexis or these platforms which are using the AI, AI components, right? These help the content to be retrieved based on the searches that are done, which can be Boolean search, a probabilistic search, or different kinds of search, which is, if I put it plainly, which is either the basic one or the advanced one, and then they place it very systematically. So let's say when you open let's say Heen online and you look for an article, how do you think that the AI system in it has placed a particular article on number one and the other one and the other article on the 10th place? How do they make this evaluation? This is something which is done as per the analysis of the search words that you have put in, and this is the role that they will systematize your search and make the more relevant search come forward or come on the top as compared to the other one. That is the reason out of 5,000 documents, you get a list depending on the relevancy of the search that you have made. Sometimes when you're using such legal components or softwares, there's a problem in regard to or there can be rather an error in regard to the interpretation, because when you read the provisions of the law, it can be interpreted in either of the ways depending on the circumstances of or the situation that is let down in the case. But when it comes to artificial intelligence, it lacks human reasoning, so it becomes very, very difficult. So in those particular cases, we say that there is a syntactic error that has come in, and they need to make the program more simplified or the language more simplified so that the AI can make an analysis accordingly. Now, coming to the last leg, there's right now a talk about having an explainable AI. So when we are using the AI tools, when we are using the AI techniques to see what is going wrong in the society and how well we can use it for our benefit, in all these situations, the common thing that comes out is that the AI, whatever information it may collect from wherever it may collect, but it is only a tool of predictive analytics. So when you're predicting something, there's likelihood that there will be bias, there will be transparency issues, there will be reliability issues, there will be authenticity issues, there will be comprehensibility issues. So when you are using any document or an output, using it to the court, using it as a piece of evidence, you must be able to explain as to how AI reached that conclusion. There are n number of examples. I don't remember the name of that particular case, but it is said that if you produce an evidence which is AI generated, and if you cannot explain as to how AI reached that conclusion, it will not be admissible in the court of law. So there are a lot of such examples, but I think I'm done with my time and I stop here and open the floor for questions. I think I made some point here. Thank you. Are there any questions, organizers?
Yeah,
Any questions there?
yeah, good evening, everyone. Good evening, ma'am. It was a really wonderful lecture. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, ma'am. If we can just sum up, at what stage of this AI revolution we are at in the context of legal fraternity? Because only on one hand we have very uh, we are stuck with the laws which are of the past, and we have only hardly one or two laws pertaining to the IT. As far as the new laws are concerned, in the evidence also, as the time unfolds, we will have some issues with dealing with the electronic evidences, because everything boils down to the evidence, how the evidential value proposition we can put on the floor of the court. So how, if you can just give only one or two pointers as to uh, how we should look at AI, and going forward how we can make use of it in a practical sense, because
Right. And thank you for your question. Now, this is very interesting and the most complicated question that anybody would ask. Right now, AI is not regulated. Recently, you'll read news where the government is putting in a lot of fund to build up enterprises related to AI. So AI across the jurisdictions is not controlled by any regulation as such, though Europe is now having the AI Act and having conversations and debates, and we all look up to it, where we are just very fondly talking about the data protection law. The world has already moved a step forward, enacted and or maybe in the process of getting the AI Act on the floor. So when we are talking about the artificial intelligence, we generally have a code of conduct which becomes a regulatory think on the behalf of the people who are creating the AI tools and techniques or writing certain programs. So they are asked to be more mindful of what they are creating, and they should have a control over it. They should be more ethical when they are making something, so that they are so that there's no legal damage, there's no personal damage, there's no financial damage done out of that particular aspect. And this, every time an artificial intelligence technique will not require that it should have a law, but most of the time it can also be regulated by way of design. If it is designed in a particular way that you cannot do anything bad with it, I think that is a major regulation, number one. Number two, people need to be more aware of what they are using. Everything that comes to the market may look lucrative, but you don't have to jump onto it to start using it in a particular way. Talking about how the new laws talk about electronic evidence, this is more about the IT. As I said, if you're using AI as a mode of extracting an output or getting some information or getting the data which you're producing as an evidence, you should be able to explain the process and not just the product at the end. That is where the explainable AI has come as an important component. And this can only be understood once we start practicing with those laws, because what is good and what is bad can only be understood once it has been put into practice. So it is only with the time. But yes, AI can be regulated by the people who are creating it, and the people who are using it need to be more mindful, because every time there's a technological cyborg that is born, you cannot have a law on it. If there's a sexual assault taking place in metaverse, you cannot have a separate law on it. If the cryptocurrency thing has gone wrong, again, you cannot have a law on it. And one thing that made it secure was said to be the blockchain technology. They said that every data be placed in a blockchain technology, but nowadays we do have the quantum computing, which is coming into picture, which can break down your encryptions, which can even break down your blockchain system. So even these, the safest that we thought they were, will not be safe anymore. So it needs to be the people who make these things, they need to make it more ethically. That's the answer.
Yeah, just a quickie, madam, because there was one PIL which was been filed in Delhi jurisdiction with reference to the true color. At one hand, we are talking about AI and everything, but there seems to be a reluctance in understanding the nuances of this new age technology at the bench level, because they prima
Right,
facie is it was quite, it is evident, it's not a rocket science for anybody to understand that how the true color works. So
right,
it becomes very difficult, just to even have the merits being put in front of the bench, that how the true color works. And obviously they have the good money power, so the true color said, no, 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 we are not doing this. But however, it is quite evident that it is the user driven technology. So suppose today I want to put some bad name or some malicious name, so the true color doesn't identify it, and so then that particular malice or some bad thing keeps on happening on the true color. And there have been cases wherein, especially with the females, that their name has been put as in a very bad name, and that particular name, when she calls up somebody else, so and her name appears with that malicious name. So and when she
right.
police, and this is the one of the main thing, that benches are not ready equipped with.
We are talking about the benches. I think the common people do not know what AI is. Everybody looks at AI as a very technical aspect. Nobody looks at it from a legal perspective. We are investing so much in the AI. Is anyone in the country talking about regulating the AI at the government level? No. When you're talking about AI, everybody looks at it like a machine that is going to be operative. When the IPR was in its boom phase, when the intellectual property rights became a discussion, the bench did have a problem, because the people sitting in the High Court or the Supreme Court are 60 or 65 plus. They may not be well aware with the technology that is in place today. So it will always be a major issue. And that is the reason when I said that you need to be more aware. If you are not aware, how can you deal with that situation? But I have personally interacted with some of the sitting Supreme Court judges right now, because they also get to speak at different platforms in academia. So now they are getting much aware, maybe from their children, from the places where they go. Now they're getting a fair idea about it. And when you're talking about the true caller or these kinds of problems, initially we had a problem in regard to them, because we neither had the data protection law, neither did we have any responsible functionary. Now we even talk about the intermediary guidelines, and we make these platforms and companies accountable. So now we are in a position to tackle them this way or that way, or ask them to explain. So the situation has over a period of time improved. We are still amending, but cyberspace is booming at a pace where you cannot take control of every small development that is taking place. So yes, there is a lack of knowledge, there's a lack of information, but yes, we are moving towards it, but we are moving at a very fast pace. We cannot match with the world which is using the AI. So there will always be a gap till we have a very strategic force put into place to deal with the menaces of AI.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other question? I think the organizers.
No, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Hello.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am,
Ma'am,
for your enlightening session
I think
and
there's a
sharing your
question.
knowledge and insights.
Thank you,
Okay.
Vaibhavi. I think there's somebody who's saying something. Harshita, I guess.
yes, ma'am.
Ji.
Hello. Can I ask the question?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I wanted to ask that, as you said, that AI is booming at a very fast pace. We as a law student, how can we stay updated? And my second question is, how can we make a career in AI as a lawyer?
I think you as students, you are very well updated when it comes to using the AI. You know it more than us. I think I'm short of examples, but you may be having more examples. And making a career in AI is very interesting. I suggest there are a lot of courses that you may do, but right now I don't. There are few conferences that take place. There are organizations working in artificial intelligence in law, but at this moment, nobody can substantively talk about these things. So if you want, there are certain online courses run by London School of Economics on AI and ethics and policy, and a lot of groups which are working on this field. So I suggest before you join any group, start participating and reading about the legal part of it, because every course that is offered talks more about the computer part. It talks more about the technical part, that how do you design a code, how do you work with an AI. But very few courses from outside are still available, and you can use it and keep reading about it, because nobody else is doing that, and you may soon become the AI expert or the AI practicing lawyer. So that's the thing.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Yes, Vaibhavi, I think we're done.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you for your enlightening session and sharing your knowledge and insights with us. Thank you to our wonderful audience for your active participation and interesting questions. Stay connected with Legal Innovation for more insightful webinars in future. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Vaibhavi. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.